and it's just really important that I think people understand, if you want to get out there and help people, you got to find a path to do that. It doesn't always have to be through social work or some professional way, but if you want to help people, there's a way to do it.
There's always a way. And is it safe to say that that's what brought you to the ACEs program? Is that trying to broaden your aspects on social work?
Look, another thing that just kind of found me, and I guess as I'm here expressing it, opportunities find me, and I need to be a little bit more grateful. But Cindy and I met, we were in a training together, focused on, it was a trauma informed training where we were learning to use simulations.
How so?
So basically, in this particular modality of training, basically you give the child, it's a lot of child welfare work, but it also could be for school counselors as well. Anybody who's working with children who've experienced trauma, is teaching you how to really address those things. And so you get these different really in-depth simulations where people will play the child who's been abused, the teacher who's made the report, and you really get to practice your skills in addressing some of these things and how to be more trauma informed. So Cindy and I met during this, we were going through the certification program, and it was very, a lot of sharing involved, and I try to be transparent. I think that's my kind of my mantra for these last couple of years. It's like, just let it out, share it, because keeping it in is not doing me any good. And so I was just being very open in the things that I've experienced in my life, going through the foster care system, being a sexual assault survivor, just, the general ups and downs of living life, right? And she and I really connected, and she told me about ACEs, and I thought it was something I was definitely interested in. I had already kind of been diving into trauma-focused and trauma-informed work, which I find is where my lens tends to focus. And so it's just another thing that I'm really excited that I'm meeting people who are common-minded, who have experiences. The EFG groups I find are really helpful. Those essential friend groups where we get to kind of just bounce ideas off each other. And I found it's really supportive space. And so I'm excited to kind of go through this program and enhance my skills and knowledge on being able to kind of teach people in the community about you're not just, messed up, right? There's a scientific thing, and there's a name to it. I think if you can name some things, you can really start to do some stuff about it.
Yeah, because then you just start to dig, and you start to find these things that this one particular topic has in common, and you start branching out and finding these little nooks that start making sense everywhere. Did it when you first learned about ACEs? Did it come over you like a wave, like it did to me? Like, oh my God,
it was like exactly what I'm like, oh, that's why I'm this way. That's how it really started to help me make sense of my experiences in life, and to really draw the connections to say, okay, I was a kid who grew up in foster care, who had a mom who wasn't supportive, didn't form good attachments, never really knew who my dad was. And now I'm able to see, oh, this is why I, maybe experienced depressive episodes, or this is why it's hard for me to maintain relationships. And just being able to kind of make those connections, I think ACEs really, that's what blew my mind about it, because it's like everything is tied together. Now it's beginning to make sense. And if I can follow it from A to B, I can get from B to C, which is the future where you're feeling healthy and whole and happy, and being able to really cope with things in a more positive way than some of those negative, coping mechanisms that we tend to do when we have ACEs, right?
Right. And the training it doesn't even feel like training. At the end of this, we're going to be certified, but it feels more like a retreat, like you're going and you're having your own type of therapy. You're getting to the bottom root cause of your problems, and it just so happens to be your classmates' problems,
right?
So those, like you said, those essential friend groups, they play a big role, because you're that saying that be nice to everybody because you don't know what everybody's going through is a real thing. Your fellow companion is going through the same problems you are. They're just tight-lipped. Right. Nobody's out there blabbing what they're going through.
No, if we can set the standard and be the model to say, hey, we started with this really tight-knit group of people from different walks of life, from different backgrounds, from, so many different ages and generations. And it's a good mix that we have, I think. But they've all got this common thing that they've experienced these adverse things when they were children, and now they're talking about it and they're making sense of it, and they're educating and they're teaching people how to move forward and how to really draw those pictures and have those conversations. And then, another group will grow from that, and they'll start talking about it and being more transparent. And before you know it, it's not things that are held in. It's not that secrecy, that people are holding on to. That's not that shame or that
right.
judgment.
It's learning from one another's mistakes,
right.
So history doesn't repeat itself.
Exactly, right. And if you imagine if, when you were growing up or you were a teenager, you knew that it was okay to talk about your feelings and the things that you had experienced. And somebody was there to say, oh, well, let me show you about, how to make sense of the trauma that you've gone through. Or do you even know what trauma is and how it impacts your body and your relationships or your emotions?
Right. Or your mind.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. It's just, I think we need to get into a place where there's not so much of a stigma about, I guess, like negativity, right? It's not bad to talk about the bad stuff that's happened. It needs
to be normalized.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at for sure.